Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
Our group of citizens inherently don't trust our election systems to begin with, because this is the WEC website called Badge of Voters, and you can see that the total count of registrants on here is 7.1 million registrants. And it gets to the problem that we only have 4 million adults in the state of Wisconsin. So we're approaching, in the 7.13 million number on the voter rolls, that grows almost daily. It never ends. It rarely goes down. It drops slightly when they sent out the 4-year postcards, and then it shot right back up, and it's the highest that I've ever seen it. Okay, and it's even worse than this, because there's the 4 million adults in Wisconsin. Not all of them register. Not all of them vote. We're really down around about 3.6 million, 3.7 million.
And that's our guest today. That's Peter, and that video's from 2022 discussing how the inflated voter rolls just keep expanding, especially in blue cities and blue states. That just enables the system to keep perpetuating the selected leaders we get. Hi, everyone. Welcome. This was an audible called at the line today, right before snap. Joe has something happening, called to play. I had to hop in. Peter's more than gracious to stay around there and do it with us today. So I don't want to waste any more of his time. Let's bring Peter right on. Peter, welcome to the show.
Hey, Patrick. And I was just praying that I wasn't wearing the same shirt as I was in the video in 2022.
Are you?
No, I'm not.
This is a very embarrassing story about wearing the same shirt. I was in education before all this, and I did some union work. I'm not proud of my history, obviously, where I am now, but they filmed me in a video to talk about like the good work the union I was a part of, AEA, was doing, and I had a Met hoodie on. And then 4 months later, we're at a delegation. Every major teachers union in Colorado is at this delegation, and they play that video. And you see where I'm going?
Yes.
I had the same Met hoodie on at the delegation, and I stood out like a sore thumb. And you got the New Yorker out here in Colorado wearing a Met hoodie, and you know they caught me on wearing the same shirt 2 months apart. But yeah, it happens. It happens. But yeah, man, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining and sticking around.
Well, I appreciate that. And that opening clip of the video, as you mentioned, was I was testifying before the state capitol in Madison, Wisconsin, before the election committee who oversees the election commission. And I with over the years and years of research and study and work that I and others have put in, investigating all the election fraud and the smurfing, which we'll get to later, I had no idea how accurate and right I was that particular day. Of course, I reported the numbers, and they've grown ever since, whereby we've even discovered, with the help of Dr. Andrew Paquette out of New York, there's clones in the voter registration system. They're moving around registrants to different jurisdictions, and we can see it happening just before, especially like primaries. They move them to a different jurisdiction, and all of a sudden, the ballot gets cast for them. So now that 7.1 million registrants on the voter registration list for the state of Wisconsin now has 8.3 million registrants. And the trick is what they're doing is there's what they call actives and inactives. And the liberals, the Democrats will immediately scream and say, well, Bernegger's wrong. Those inactives can't vote. That's not true. We've caught them where they flip them to active, cast a ballot, and then flip them back to inactive. Or, like I mentioned, they move them to a different jurisdiction. And this is not the person. We checked. This is not the person moving. This is just the registration itself moving to a new jurisdiction. And all of a sudden, the next day, election day, the ballot gets cast. So this confirms again one of the major problems of our elections is dirty voter rolls. And for years, I was convinced you got to clean them up, you got to take care of them, you got to maintain them, which federal law requires, and keep them clean and honest, and everything will be okay. It is so infected with the clones, with the deceased, with the people double voting, people living in Illinois or Minnesota and yet voting in Wisconsin, using an address in Wisconsin, but yet they don't live here, they're not a resident. All kinds of different anomalies like that, let alone having bad addresses, registrations at the U.S. Postal Service. It's a long, long list. And it just gets to a point where you have to stop these computerized rolls. And because with a computer, you can change anything you want. One person has access to the WisVote database for the state of Wisconsin. If he or she gets in there, they can make any change they want. We've got to get computers out of our elections, which relates to, again, the e-poll books, the Dominion voting machines, anything electronic you're seeing is it's so vulnerable for cheating to happen. And it does happen because they're catching them and they're charging them. There's grand juries open across the United States, and it's all coming out now. So it's a little late, a little too late for my comfort. However, it's happening, especially the grand juries in Fort Pierce, Florida. There's one in upstate New York, and a few other states.
Well, that's great to hear. I don't think a lot of people know. This is the first I'm hearing about multiple grand juries, especially upstate New York. I'm interested in that, definitely. Do you know what county?
I don't, but I do know there's one in New York, and it's focused on election fraud. I can also share with you, which is not so secret, the FBI has an open, active criminal investigation in their office out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and they are actively investigating on a criminal basis the 2020 election in Wisconsin, which focuses on Milwaukee.
Well, yeah, and that means you need Wisconsin, you need Arizona, you need Georgia, you need Pennsylvania, right? You got to open them up in all those states because that night the magic happened.
Correct. But I'll add, I could share with you the FBI, and this is not a big secret either.
Right.
The FBI has open criminal investigations going on for the 2020 election in Maricopa County, Arizona, in Fulton County, which most have seen the raids of that, in Wayne County, Michigan, and Milwaukee County, Wisconsin. I'm trying to confirm out in Pennsylvania yet, but I haven't been able to yet.
Yeah, and that's definitely all good news. A little late, but I think the issue is going forward now, what is being done to prevent the cheating to keep happening, right? Like we got the grand juries going. Step one, the machines, huge problem. Anything computerized can be manipulated. We all agree on that. But for some reason, a lot of people keep saying, no, nothing to see here. And then when we want to get the SAVE Act passed, which the majority of Americans do, over 80% of Americans want to see voter ID, in-person voting, same-day voting, right? All that. Yet our politicians still stand in the way of having that happen. So how do we break through these barriers to get these elections back into the hands of the people so that we actually know what's happening in our elections and making sure we're getting the real elected leaders and not selected leaders?
Well, that gets to the core problem. I think it might be in the top three problems of our country right now is accountability. Somewhere, I don't know
that word, yeah.
We lost accountability over the last few decades where even if a person gets caught, it doesn't seem like anything happens to them. Now, in the last few weeks, you have seen a fair number of indictments coming out. There are the grand juries open and calling witnesses in to testify. So I expect big things out of clarifying that there's 2 grand juries in Fort Pierce, Florida. One of them in the Russian collusion hoax. And, that's the phrase everyone refers to. But when you look into that, a big part of the Russian collusion hoax conspiracy was election fraud. They wanted to steal the 2016 and then later, more specifically, the 2020 election, which they did. So the Russian collusion hoax, they wanted to maintain their power. And that gets to Obama and Hillary and all the minions down below feeding into Obama's kind of leadership, I'll say. So the Fort Pierce 2 grand juries are the ones that probably the most, interesting. I would also say is that big things are happening. I hate to say this behind the scenes with Tulsi Gabbard's office. She has jurisdiction when anything comes into our elections or other areas of our country, international connections. Well, where do you have international connections in our elections? Per the emails, internal emails, you got, Belgrade, Serbia, Dominion. You've got computer parts and components of our election systems being made in China. They just ship them to Taiwan, swap the labels, and then get them on a U.S. flag shipped. In fact, I have federal bills of lading showing that, where they're shipping in specifically Cradle Point routers to Boise, Idaho. They're made in China. They go to Taiwan. They get the label changed over, and then they can continue on to the United States. So that's international jurisdiction in Venezuela and Maduro. So big things I think are coming from Tulsi Gabbard's office. You got to watch that.
I love Tulsi. I was skeptical of Tulsi, but I've seen her be just stand up straight as an arrow for pretty much joining the Trump administration. And even before that, they came after her when she was a Democrat, put her on the terror watch list, I believe, right? She couldn't fly so what's interesting to me, though, is, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, there's a report coming out that supposedly CIA went into her office, took out 40 boxes of MK Ultra files and JFK assassination files. Have you heard that? Know about
Well,
that?
I have, but I understand that first that was older news, and then somebody planted that story. Something didn't pan out on that, but something I want to add back to about how do we fix this is the accountability part of it. I strongly believe President Trump. He knows what he's doing. He has he is taking actions to stop this type of election fraud. His 3 main focuses are the voting machines, the voter registration lists, and the mail-in ballots. So he's already been taking action now, emergency orders, but he's also doing other things with the U.S. Postal Service, where he's going to be, I think, shutting down mail-in ballots. For example, as you know, Harmeet Dillon, God bless her, she has, how many 25 to 30 lawsuits against states who are refusing to provide voter rolls. I believe they're going to start, cutting off the federal funding if they don't get those rolls. They just issued on May 12th a legal paper opinion from the U.S. Department of Justice, which carries weight with the federal court, that declaring and showing that federal law mandates that the states have to follow the federal election laws, and that includes giving the voter rolls to the feds when they ask, because that ties in with the NVRA and HAVA. So all those lawsuits are already filed and in place. Then they also have they're doing something with the U.S. Postal Service with President Trump to stop the mail-in ballots, and then it gets back to the voting machines. Now, something that maybe Joel Oltmann doesn't know, per court documents, we don't believe that Dominion voting machine was ever sold to the person, Scott Lidecker, in Liberty Vote in Missouri. We believe it was more of a name transfer.
A shell game.
Shell game, head fake.
Yep.
So
Joe would love to talk to you more about that, 100%. Yes.
And I know Eagle Ed Martin, God bless him too, working up in the Civil Rights Division of the U.S. Department of Justice, had some hands in that. He's from St. Louis, and so Scott Lidecker in Liberty Vote and No Ink Systems. Now, I'm certainly not a fan of them at all, but there's something in there that's going on, that there was no transfer, there was no sale of Dominion voting. In fact, the court documents show otherwise.
So what's the purpose of hiding? What's the purpose of doing that move?
Because I have to say, this is my gut feeling. I think the U.S. government has their thumb on Liberty Vote, and they have control of Dominion voting.
Okay. So
I'm not saying they own them. I'm just saying they have their thumb on them, and it's like, we caught you. We know what you did. You're going to cooperate, and the Scott Lidecker is going to be the front guy. And yes, I'm piecing a jigsaw puzzle together on this, but I'm stating that Dominion voting was never sold.
And we've seen that. We played a clip on it a couple months ago. Someone did some investigative reporting on that too. And yeah, it seems that it's more of a look over here, but we're still here type thing. Woo, trust this in, but I'm
If someone was taking a deposition of some Dominion people, they should ask them.
That would be a great thing to do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That would be absolutely fantastic. Right about now, too, would be absolutely amazing.
Never underestimate President Trump. He makes mistakes like we all do, but his timing is impeccable, and his strategy and his creative ideas. There's things anybody could come along and maybe you disagree with him on a particular issue or something, but the man's brilliant, and he knows our elections are stolen, and this is why you're seeing these federal lawsuits. This kind of a head fake transfer of the Dominion voting systems. He's taking action behind the scenes with the U.S. Postal Service about the mail-in ballots. He's trying to eliminate them, which they should be. As you know, we're the only industrial nation left that has mass mail-in ballots like we do.
Yes, we are.
A lot of things are going on. There's some big Supreme Court wins, of course, that everyone knows now about the redistricting of the maps. That was a huge part of election fraud based on a fake, race that the blacks were somehow not allowed to vote or something, or not getting representation. Finally, the Supreme Court saw through that phony business.
And now, do you hear the politicians talking? We're going back to Jim Crow with this ruling. Like, the gaslighting just never stops on that side.
True, but the decision's done. The states, as you've seen, have already been redoing their redistricting. So I think South Carolina did it yesterday, where they eliminated James Clybourne's district, which he's the black African American Methodist Church, but that guy is corrupt as can be. We've had people tell us he flies around to different key districts, including Milwaukee. He meets with people like Souls to the Polls and Micah, which are black organizations who are stuffing the ballot boxes. But he takes suitcases of cash with him. And the reason he flies in person or even takes a bus, is that he doesn't want anything in writing. He doesn't want public records requests or emails or texts. That's why he comes in person. Well, yesterday, his congressional district, has been eliminated. So it's a huge celebration.
Getting to have one of the old gangsters. But wow, that's amazing. I didn't know those stories. That's something else right there. They're actually smart enough to know not to put anything in writing and then do it yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Our politicians today just do everything blatantly in our face, and we're just supposed to swallow it and say, thank you for letting me keep 46 cents to every dollar I make.
Well, they all got quite the message yesterday in that primary. I believe now it's 30, it was 38 or 39 to 0, or 30, I'll say 38 races were, President Trump favored the candidate. 38 won, 0 lost. And I'm including in there is the U.S. Senator Cassidy out of Louisiana, who just lost, of course. And I think next week is going to be great news that Ken Paxton's going to beat the Rhino John Corinne. So they're really getting a shellacking. And a big part of that is that, we're all clamoring as citizens, we're clamoring for honest elections. And, they don't want to do that because they know that so many are going to be ousted from Congress and the Senate if they do.
I know, but we need them to go because what's being done to this country by the leaders that are selectively put in place is just peeling back progress that our country's made over our 250-year history. And
it is. It's such a tragedy. We all would trust in them, especially say since Obama got in particular. That we just trust them. We were busy working, raising our families, going to Disneyland, and then they've been screwing us ever since and changing the laws here and there. They've been working on this for 20 years. State laws, federal laws, just to tweak them a little bit so it makes it easier or more difficult to challenge if we think there's something going on with election fraud. In fact, I want to say on smurfing, which is a campaign money laundering that we exposed, continue to do so. We trace back the origins of it, and I'm talking this modern day smurfing, mass money laundering into campaigns across the nation using computer bots. We traced it. It originated with presidential John Kerry in 2004. That's when it started.
That's when they figured out how to smurf little campaign contributions into multi-billion-dollar pocket lining.
Exactly. That's when they, and then they went on steroids over the years. You could see them. They took a boost in 2008, but in particular 2016, they got greedy, and 2018 and on. They can't resist the flow of money, and you can see that's why you're getting these crazy number of races. We had a state Supreme Court race, I think it was 2025, where $100 million went into the state Supreme Court race. $100 million. And a big chunk of that was smurfed, illegally laundered into the campaigns. On both sides, I'll point out. On both sides, the Republicans and the Democrats. A huge percentage more, I'd say, is pushing 80-85% on the Democrat side. But still, I'm not letting the Republicans off either on this.
No, it's illegal. And the question is, when do the arrests come from the smurfing?
I can answer that. Not to the date, but as people know, hope you do, is that the FBI, who we work with, along with 20 state attorney generals, since about April, maybe September, of 2023, we've been supplying them with information and data, which comes from the state and or federal government. And we show them what they're doing, how they're doing it, where to go look for the golden pot. And last February, the FBI raided Act Blue's office. As you recall, 7 top executives resigned. All their corporation counsel attorneys left, all of them. So now the House Judiciary has issued a report. So you have to take into consider the timeline. If you go back to February of last year, the FBI raided their offices in Massachusetts. Okay, that now has progressed along where enough time where they're going to be bringing out indictments soon against the people at Act Blue. So that's coming very soon.
And speaking of smurfing, I think you had a post you put up recently about Phil Weiser on your X account about what he's been up to. Can we pull that up, Damon?
We ran all the state politicians. We wanted one to help Tina Peters. We also wanted to expose what's going on in Colorado. And in particular, what's very unsettling, we found the smurfing in massive smurfing in all the candidates who are running. I'm talking from Jenna Griswold, this Phil Weisner, and Victor Marks.
Victor Marks. He just
Victor
did a Candace
Marks.
Owens interview recently. He's got a whole bunch of things going on in his world.
Yeah, and the numbers are just overwhelming. And with Victor Marx in particular, he just refiled a new. I mean, he couldn't defend what we published, and I want to point out, Mark Cook first got us on the Marx campaign committee numbers, and he first published about it, and then we followed up with a deeper dive and more criteria that we run through our system, called Smurf Hunter, by the way.
Nice.
It's extremely detailed. We've been developing it for 3 years now, 4 years maybe, and in particular, though, it was so bad for Victor Marx of smurfing, where he's criminally laundering money into his campaign on a massive scale. He had to go refile his campaign committee numbers, and which is fine with me because the smurfing money is still in there. So now he's filed 2 false reports to the state of Colorado, and it's not any better on the Democrat side. Jenna Griswold is right up there, and Phil Weisner's right up there. There's another candidate that Hickenlooper. Hickenlooper, we got him for millions. I posted on him, a couple months ago, but then I renewed it again maybe a week or 2 ago, where Hickenlooper is big time smurfing through the federal level.
They all do it. They all know they're doing it. You're outing them, and they don't change course.
Well, what we found is the candidates are still liable. It doesn't matter if they know or not.
Right.
The campaign finance laws and the criminal money laundering laws, wire fraud, it doesn't allow that. Well, I didn't know. Doesn't ignorance of the law is no excuse situation. But what we found is this is a systematic problem, a scourge on our country and our society that pretty much, not 100%, but a heck of a lot of these federal and state level politicians, and it does again go down into the mayoral races, school board races, if they think they could flip it from a liberal to conservative or vice versa. So it's a system where the lobbyists, the people behind the curtain have this set up where they just have a new candidate who comes along and says, okay, I'll agree to run to be a congressman. And all of a sudden they get in there and people come up to them and they have their wives come up to them. This is true stories. They'll have another congressman or their lobbyist wives will come up and say, hey, your wife is all alone. I'll invite her to this bridge club party and play cards or something for the afternoon. So then the lobbyist wife is in on the scam to get the new congressman's wife friendly, and that's how they starts. And then they say, "Oh, you're coming up for re-election. You're going to need campaign money." All of a sudden, the smurfing money starts coming in. We can see it happening. We can see it through the numbers. And all of a sudden, the smurfing number they start small at 10, 20%, and then they get desperate when nobody else wants to donate when they get a bad candidate. And like Senator Raphael Warnock out of Georgia, horrible politician. He's up to 92, 93% of all his campaign money is criminally laundered into his campaign committee because nobody wants to give the guy, donate money to the guy because they know he's corrupt and he's voting, on the communist type level. So nobody donates to him. So he turns to smurfing. He's one of the top 5 in the nation. Is Warnock out of Georgia?
So I remember, I know that guy. Well, I don't know him, but I know who you're talking about, and he's nothing to write home or be proud of what policies he pushed and what he stands for, and that's why he's got to get fake donations at over 90% clip. Now, my question is, all these candidates always have to submit their numbers, submit their fundraising, right? Submit this, submit that to oversight, but nothing's ever done at the oversight level, is there? If there was, wouldn't all this be found and stopped?
Well, I tell you what, first off, you're right on that, is that the Federal Election Commission doesn't have a quorum right now. They're supposed to have 6 commissioners because of John Thune, a Republican. President Trump can't get his nominees through, including on the Federal Election Commission. So there's 2 commissioners there. At least one, if not both, were appointed by President Biden, and they're still there. We're missing 4 commissioners, so they can't take action on it. But even when they used to have 6, they didn't take action on it. They were covering it up. In fact, we caught them hiding 50% of their donation, the contributions coming in. They put them in a classification called unitemized, where it just kind of goes into a general bucket. And then they hid that. If you go on their website and look for campaign contributions, the unitemized doesn't show up. So we ran an API directly into their database, and that's how we found that out. And we exposed them. There's double the amount of money. If you go look on their website, if you see $500, it's really $1,000. And we know all about the double accounting they use, which is goofy in the first place. But they'll take the same $100 donation or a $10 donation, and they'll count it like 6 times, sometimes up to 8 times. And I think it's a way for them to cover up what's really happening too, on that. But back on the accountability on the smurfing, we currently now have 10 federal lawsuits filed against treasurers and campaign committees for smurfing. And what it is it's in the federal campaign finance laws using a straw man. So you're using somebody else's identity to make the donation. And we can file civil suits on that. And we did. We have 10 of them filed. One is against a couple examples is U.S. Senators Amy Klobuchar out of Minnesota, Tammy Baldwin out of Wisconsin, Alyssa Slotkin out of Michigan, John Thune I filed it on out of South Dakota, and his treasurer. And then we filed against Lindsey Graham also.
Now, are you actually in the courts, though, or are you waiting to hear if you have right to sue them?
We are in, it's long procedural problems with the rules, but you file first against the Federal Election Commission, which the 10 suits have, and then the FEC defaults. They file a 2-page notice of default, and then which they have. Then we file a motion for default, and we're waiting for those to get granted. Once they're granted, then we are legally allowed to step into the shoes of the Federal Department of Justice on a civil sense, and we can directly sue, as we're the government, we can directly sue these campaigns and their treasurers.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It was a lot of work, but Patriots stepped up. I filed most of them. Chris Gleason out of Florida filed several. We have a big one against Act Blue. Patriot Julie Seegers out of Wisconsin filed one against Act Blue. Chris Gleason filed one also against Act Blue. Those are in the federal courts right now, and we're waiting for the default judgments to come through. We tagged all their treasurers. So the federal law specifically says the committee is guilty in the civil sense, and the treasurer is. So you can imagine, the rules say when we file the suits, we had to send a copy of the summons and the complaint to each of the treasurers. So you can imagine the day they got those, they picked up the phone and called John Thune and said, "What the heck's going on? What the heck is going on? I'm being accused of money laundering."
Why? Because you are. You're not being.
Exactly.
And someone's finding it out, and the red flags are going up, hairs stacking up on their neck. Because people aren't used. Then that's accountability, though, right? Finally, some accountability, some light being shown, and you're going to have to answer to something eventually. The legal process takes forever, though. It really does.
It does, but we have suits still open and pending and ongoing from as early as 2023. So, we're sticking at it. We're playing the long game. We're not giving up. And you learn some of these suits. We've gotten some fantastic discovery out. And of course, we want to win the suits. But another one I want to tell you about is that it's going really well for us is we have a suit against the Wisconsin Election Commission. The purpose of the suit is to get rid of ERIC, the Electronic Registration Information System. If we win this suit, and it's going very well so far, is we will eliminate Eric from all 24 states that still have him as a member state. So this is a national suit in a sense, and we defeated their motion to dismiss the case. We have subpoenas out now to Eric, the Wisconsin Election Commission, and SEER, their sister company, and their attorneys are not too happy with those subpoenas. So they want to produce. They don't want to produce what the subpoenas are asking for.
And do these individuals, are they eligible for qualified immunity?
No, remember these are nonprofits. So you have the Wisconsin Election Commission, which is a government agency, and then you have the Eric and SEER are both nonprofits. So they're entities or legal organizations. They don't have immunity.
I'm talking about individuals within it, though. Can you go after the individuals within those commissions for individual charges and individual penalties if found for being corrupt?
We can sue them, the treasurer and the committee, and then if we have enough evidence, what I think we already do, we can do criminal referrals to the FBI or other law enforcement that would make sense.
Yeah, I think people want cuffs on people at this point with all the corruption, all the nonsense that's been going on for years, and yet outside has been calling just for transparency, right? And that's the thing that really irks me, is that our election should be just an easy, simple, transparent process. If there is claims of election fraud and we need to investigate this, open it up, what's the issue with just opening it up? Why is there always such resistance to just being transparent about what's going on in pretty much the most important thing we partake in our societies, which is voting?
Boy, you know the answer, because
I want to hear it, though.
When they hide things, you can cheat, and there's no accountability. Get back to the main word again. So you got the black box voting in the poll pads, in the Dominion and ES&S voting machines. You can't see the vote being counted. And I wish somebody would bring a lawsuit on that, is that you can't see the votes being counted. And I think that the federal law, state law says that you should be able to see them being counted. So it's the same thing with the voter registration list. You can't see the software. You can't see inside the database.
Yeah.
So they can make any changes that they want to. And how are you going to pick 10,000 out of like 8.3 million records? That's exactly why they have that 8.3 million records on the Wisconsin voter registration list and these other states, because it gives them a way to hide things.
And then if you do catch them, they throw you in jail like Tina.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we have our Harry Waite situation in Wisconsin, where he accessed my vote system, and it's still today, you can go to the my vote system, and if you know the person's name and address, and you can find the address, and the birth date, you could access their voter count. And I can go in there. I can go in there, change your name, change your address. I can request an absentee ballot. I can have it sent to a P.O. box. And that's exactly what Harry Waite did. And our state attorney general, Josh Call, came after him and convicted him of it.
Yeah, we had Harry on the show, and they threw him in jail for it.
Exactly. He's going to be sentenced towards the end of the month now. But that's the audacity and arrogance, and but it exposes the powers that be who are conducting the cheating or carrying out the cheating, and Harry's going to be sentenced to something. Do you have any indication of, like, the parameters of what we're looking at for a sentencing for Harry? Is it months, years? Are there guidelines that the judge has to follow in this case that could give you an idea of what we're looking at for him? This is my opinion, is that you never know, of course, when the judge comes, if he's going to try to hammer him or not. But I think what's going to happen is he might get probation. He had a stroke. He's not doing well. You probably noticed when he was on your show. But there's other cases where people have committed this type of a crime and they got probation. So I'm sure his attorney, and I already looked those cases up and sent them to his attorney, and he should, I think should get probation, first-time offender. The problem is you have judges that come along, like what happened to Tina Peters.
Yeah, and you get slapped 9.5 years. And then other people who have done the same thing in the state receive probation for the most part. We've covered it on the show. It's amazing that just depending on your political affiliation and your ideological beliefs, what a judge can do to you.
Correct. But he certainly did expose that. But still today, you can go on. They just refuse to put in a security system on it. There's no username or password. You can go onto there and enter. You could enter my name if you knew my birth date, which you could find out easily. You could access my account at the state of Wisconsin. It's crazy.
Yeah, he exposed it, found guilty, sentencing. Tina found it, exposed it, sentencing. It's amazing. It's not amazing. I'm sorry. It's the wrong terminology. It's just, if people don't understand what's going on in this country with stories that are shared on this show, on other shows, of just really what happens to true American patriots that come forward with exposing the corruption and the rot within our system, I don't know what else needs to be done to wake people up.
I think it's gonna change. It's gonna fix itself. It's coming. Trump is taking some big actions, and it's going to turn on these people where we can get them out of office and get people who are truly elected in office. There's a lot of work left yet to do, but you thank God that Trump won back in 2024.
Yeah. Can you imagine where we would be now?
No, it would be absolute disaster.
Exactly. Things aren't great now. Don't get me wrong. Things are not great now by any stretch of the means, but we have a chance still of correcting the ship. And do you think Trump takes major steps before the midterms to get the machines and the ballots and all that handled before the midterms?
Yes, I still believe he's going to declare a national emergency. This is based on sources out of D.C. I'm not speculating. And he's going to declare a national emergency and say that they're not following the election laws. Remember, Maduro is squealing. The people out of Fulton County, some of them are, whistleblowing now. People out of Milwaukee have come forward. So, they're learning firsthand from eyewitnesses who are in on the cheat of what they did, how they did it. And he'll use that as leverage to declare the national emergency and stop things such as mail-in voting.
That would be a huge step. And then once that happens, got to envision what the response on the left might be.
True, but remember, there's indictments, there's grand juries, there's more indictments coming. Especially, I think it's going to happen with the Obama, Hillary Clinton, who else is on that whole long list?
Comey, Clapper, Fauci. You're going
Brennan.
Yeah. Okay, yep. Getting them all. That would bring a lot of peace to people. That would also bring a reestablishment of trust of the people back to the system, if stuff like that was to happen, because we need something. Like, we're in the day and age now where people are not trusting the government no matter which side of the aisle you are on. So basically, their actions are going to dictate what type of relationship we're going to have with them moving forward. At least that's how I view it. That's how I am.
I agree. But and all these problems too that you see, you could name the whole long list of them, from climate change hoax to the transgender nonsense. You could go on and on and on, and it all comes back to stolen elections, because the people who get in there are not from the people. It's from lobbyists and or crooked corporations who are putting them in there, installing them. Well, then they're beholden to those people who put them in there. And that's why I think something is up with John Thune. I don't have who it is, but somebody has his neck, and one way or the other, I don't know if it's money or something else, blackmail, who knows? I don't have the answer to that, but something's got him, and his hatred for Trump. He's got him, and he's stopping the whole government. But I'll submit to you, he was selected, And you go back and look at some of the voter registration lists of South Dakota, other people have published on, and it's horrific of how many illegals are on the list and how many mail-in ballots just weren't adding up for John Thune. So I believe he stole his elections, and his smurfing. Smurfing is a form of election fraud, and I caught him at it. And I'm taking action against John Thune, where I have a federal lawsuit against his campaign committee and his treasurer, and it's got to go through the system yet, but it's filed and opened, and I'm waiting for the next court decision.
Peter, you're a boss, man. I respect the hell out of you. It takes a special type of person to take all this on and then not only just digest the information, but then understand the information and then take action with the information. That last part is typically the hardest part for someone to do anything with, which is take action on a wrong that they see. That is huge, my friend. I appreciate all the hard work you're doing behind the scenes.
Well, thank you. And I have a lot of good people helping me. And I want to give a call out to Michael Calhoun, who's one of your own in Colorado. He lives outside of Denver. He and I filed a HAVA complaint against Jenna Griswold. We held a hearing before their board of the Secretary of State. She was a no-show. We provided testimony, both Michael Calhoun and myself. And then we had Harry Howery on, who's former NSA and some other three-letter agencies. And he testified for us. And we, I think we put a shockwave into, who was it? Andrew Klein. He is the Deputy Secretary of State of Colorado. This just happened last week. And their decision is coming out May 29th. If it's in our favor, he was pretty shaken up. I don't think he was expecting what we testified to. And we showed how the total ballots cast for the exact same election keeps changing over time. Every time they report their new numbers, or you obtain a new voter registration list from the Secretary of State's office, they're changing up to 498,000 different numbers. When you look at, say, the result, total ballots cast for the 2020 election at that time, and then look at it in 2023, look at it this year in 2026, and you see hundreds of thousands of deletions or additions from what they certified back in 2020. So which number is correct? When they certified it in 2020, or the one that the list I got yesterday? And the numbers are off by 350,000. So we had another issue. Was in the HAVA complaint, but we provided testimony, and the Secretary of State is going to issue a decision on our HAVA petition May 29th. If we lose, and I'll file against them in federal court.
There you go. Just don't set the bar too high. This state is as corrupt as it can be, and I just want to let you know that the state is corrupt. It's a cartel.
We're the first ones. It could have been others, but to my knowledge, I think we were the first ones to achieve a HAVA hearing in the state of Colorado.
Okay, so you know how to smash through walls and break mountains and shatter ceilings. So you know what you're doing.
We're trying. We've had some nice big lawsuit wins recently, and more in Wisconsin. We have an open federal lawsuit in the state of Colorado. Many people don't know this. We did this with the Kim Munson radio show Help, where the suit's still open today, and it's against General Griswold to clean up the voter list. Now, I know as well as anybody, you can't clean the list, but what we're doing is we're exposing them, we're putting pressure on. Yes, we want to win the case. It's a National Voter Registration Act case. They already did some cleanup with Tom Fitton with Judicial Watch, some 300,000, I think it's 342,000 if I remember correctly. So that boosted our case, which is still open against Jenna Griswold. So we're attacking her from different angles, and I think she's feeling the pressure on this, and people know it's more exposure not to vote for her either, because now she wants to be Attorney General.
Yeah, she wants to move up the chain. She needs to move up the chain to protect the cartel. That's what needs to happen. So she needs to go. We need to get her out.
Yep.
Peter, where can our guys and our audience find you?
Well, our website is electionwatch.info, and a lot of good information on there. And then the other one is my Twitter or X is at Peter Bernegger, and it's just like you see it. Hopefully, it's on the screen there. And at Peter Bernegger, and that's where the most current things are posted.
Yeah, I visit your page daily because you put great stuff out there. I'm not going to lie. You put great stuff out there. I use your stuff. I bring Joe in on it because it's truth. It needs to be shared. People need to be informed. People need to know what's going on.
And I have to say that, doing this for now 5.5 years, full time, by the way, is that you can see that when I post something mostly about Wisconsin, but there's other states that we get into, it's happening in most of the states. So just because you see it says Wisconsin, happening in Wisconsin elections, well, it's pretty darn sure it's happening in other states also, not maybe every single one, but you can see the pattern of how they're cheating across other states, especially the swing states.
Yeah, it's never done in isolation. It's not these are not isolated events. It's all coordinated. And if you pay attention to pretty much all the clips we play and everything you find online, it typically benefits one side. That's another part of it. It typically benefits one side, one specific group of candidates over and over and over again.
Well, I would push it to 100%. It's like every time there's
You're the expert.
An error, a glitch, a clerical error, every time. It's not like it's 100%. It benefits the Democrats.
Yeah. In the 2020 elections, all those glitches, not one glitch favored Trump. Not one. But yet the most secure elections ever.
But I want to leave you with this, is that indictments are coming. So think of all the ground game that they had to do to steal elections. All those people are going to be seeing those indictments on the mainstream media and wherever else. That it's like they're going to be thinking really hard. The FBI is investigating. Grand juries are in panel. Indictments are coming. Already some started already, trickling in. And they got to be thinking, oh man, you got all these undercover investigative journalists. They got FBI agents out interviewing witnesses. You got grand juries sending out subpoenas. You got to be thinking pretty darn hard. Is it worth it to go to federal prison for X number of years just to get 20 ballots stuffed into the box? So, I think that's going to be a big deterrent. And wait till next month when the bigger indictments come out.
You got me excited, and next month isn't too far away. So nope. I'll be looking forward to that. Peter, thank you so much for staying with me and staying on the show today. We will get you back when Joe is in chair so you guys could go deeper and longer into election integrity. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Patrick.
You got it.
Yep.
Woo! That was an awesome, awesome interview. Peter blew my mind with a lot of information, and that dude is a workhorse. So I appreciate everything Peter is doing. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and I'll be right back.
Oh, hi. I almost didn't see you there. Welcome to DCF Buns, where you can find the freshest buns in town, if I do say so myself. Our master bakers teach class every week. So whether you're new to baking or trying to improve your culinary skills, we got you covered. And we can help you bake the cake of your dreams. We'll even clean your cake if you want. And if you don't want to bake anything yourself, we have loads of fresh buns available in a variety of shapes and sizes. Check us out at dcfbuns.com to learn more. DCF Buns, we keep the buns hot and the deals hotter. Buns.
In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage.
We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle.
We had some pretty horrible totalitarian regimes in the 20th century, the Soviet Union, Nazi Germany. But even in the Soviet Union, people still have some measure of privacy because the KGB couldn't technically follow everybody all the time. You have like 200 million Soviet citizens, but the KGB doesn't have 200 million agents. AI can be the basis for the worst totalitarian surveillance regime in history. You don't need human agents to follow people around. You have cameras and microphones and computers and drones everywhere. They can easily follow you 24 hours a day. They can even know what's happening inside your body. And you don't need to send paper reports to headquarters in Moscow. You have AI in the cloud, constantly analyzing the data.
That's Noah Harari at the WEF, kind of letting you know where we're going. Kind of letting you know where we're going, right? And this episode today is about the playbook to break America. First part of the episode was about how they start doing it with the stolen elections, with the selected leaders and implementing these crazy agendas that get pushed down our throats that lead to the divisiveness in our society, the conflicts at home, the degradation in our streets. And then Harari's letting you know where you're going, where you're going to be surveillance 24/7, one continuum, all the way across. And all of us here sitting around like, I don't want any of this. I don't want you in my house. I don't want you knowing what I'm doing. And I know most of us probably have devices in our home that listen to us, Alexa, Google, right? I'm sure we have those things, our remote controls, right? So they're probably listening to you at some level, but if you choose not to buy those products and stay off the grid, eventually they're still going to come get you. And they'll have medical devices that'll implant in you. They have that now, little cameras that go inside you, track you for 30 days. Somehow it disintegrates or comes out your butt. I don't know, but I know it's a real thing and it happens, right? So we are constantly being surveilled. Flock cameras everywhere, over 10 miles an hour. Here's a speeding ticket. Going through a yellow light, speeding ticket. I'm sorry, red light ticket, even though it wasn't red, but the camera said it was red, so you're getting it, right? Every which way you go, you get looked at. Walking through stores, right? If you live in an apartment complex, you're on video all the time. It's a matter of fact that most Americans have gotten used to, but it becomes a surveillance state. And that's part of the America that we're living in right now, is a surveillance state. I've noticed new things on our cameras out here that on top of our lights, and they're not taking pictures, they're tracking the cars by speed. And if you're getting ahead of where you are, we covered this story a month ago, and then I saw the things on Alameda like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, what are those? And sure as heck, it's tracking you. And if you're going faster than they believe you should be going, and they're able to prove it by how you travel between this street and that street, you get a ticket in the mail. They track you on your phone. They track you on your computer. They know everything you look at. They know everybody you talk to. It's our normalcy. We need to just be aware of it, I guess. It's the normal way we're going. But it's because stolen elections have consequences. Do you really want all that? I know we don't, but somehow we get it shoved in our face all the time. Why? Because the people that are in place don't represent us. They represent the special interests, the foreign interests, the big money, anyone else but us, the regular Joe Schmoes who are just trying to get by every day without being killed by someone that shouldn't be on the street. Like, that's just what it is. And this is all part of the playbook to kill America, to break America. Transgenderism, the flock cameras, the censoring of speech, the indoctrination in the school systems, being in constant conflict with your fellow American based on what you believe. Because now everybody believes they have a right to tell you how you should live your life. Even though I just want to be left alone and I want my family to be left alone. But me even wanting to be left alone is causing conflict with people because, no, you got to be out there and you got to believe what I want to. No, I don't. And actually, I do want to be left alone, but my job, I don't get to be left alone, I guess, too much. And I'm okay with that to a certain degree. You know, 2 years ago, I wasn't doing this. I wanted to be left alone 2 years ago. I wanted to just go about my day, get bopped over the head with the equity stick at work every other day, you know, and just do my job and go home and just be left alone. This got created for me. I didn't go to do this. I became this because of what happened to me. And that's what I think most Americans need to realize, is that the left will come eat you in one form or another. It just depends on what stage, right? And me, I was at the bottom prime level stage, white heterosexual male that believes in God, right? So like, yeah, got to go get him first. But eventually they're going to come get the rest of us, rest of everybody. And it all falls into the, right? Transgenderism, CRT, equity, indoctrination, right? The priming of our younger generation. You think these college kids that are out there now are bad? Just wait till you get the next wave in the next 5 to 7 years that have been primed since COVID coming out. Woo, they're going to be coming out on fire. But let's take a look at why they're going to be coming out on fire. Take a look at this story out of Jeffco, right out here in Colorado. I believe Drake Middle School, Jefferson County. Look what happened to this student when she tried to write something about pro-life in her class.
My teacher assigned an assignment in class to write a slam poem about a conflict in the world that we are passionate about. I chose life. I chose this topic because it's important to me and my family. In my poem, I met all of the criteria, I got reputable resources, and I included everything that I needed in my poem. But when I asked my teacher if I could present it, she said no. This is when my mom had to step in.
I immediately emailed the teacher and I asked her to call me. It took till the next day for her to call me. They said that because of the offensive material in the poem that they were not going to allow her to present. And I pushed back on them because not only were they presenting a lot of political material themselves, but they were presenting it as truth. They brought up issues like racial issues. They had LGBTQ rights, immigration. To that, they said, sorry, no, this is too political. We are not going to allow it. And so here we are, just telling our story.
When I further asked my teacher about why I could not present, she said that I would not be able to be even in the class while my fellow classmates are presenting their poems, and that I would have to sit outside. But when I further questioned her, she finally said that I could be in the class to listen.
So a slam poetry that is pro-life is going to be considered offensive and make kids feel unsafe. Welcome to equity in the public school system, because that's the language that they use. When they hear something and see something they don't like, they use the terms politically charged. They use the terms unsafe and offensive, even though this student has a right to read her pro-life slam poetry that the teacher assigned. Now, teacher, if you don't want a pro-life assignment written in your class, then tell the kid that. Tell them you want to be a communist-run classroom, and you know what? We do not accept pro-life statements in here, because I'm sure your school district does it. They all do it. Cherry Creek does the same thing. Speaking of which, updates to everyone. We were in oral arguments last Tuesday. Cherry Creek School District actually admitted, yes, they fired me for what I said. They were asked by 2 different district court judges at the 10th Circuit. Basically, you invited him to speak freely. You told him he wouldn't lose his job, and then you fired him for when he spoke freely, and their counsel admitted to that. So yeah, that did happen. So yeah, I'm not surprised this is happening in Jeffco. I'm not surprised at any of it, what's going on in the public school systems, because the public school system has been hijacked by equity grifters that look to line their pockets for 6-figure sums and promote equity and inclusion that in reality just promotes divisiveness and inequitable education to students. That's what equity does, because they lower the ceiling without raising the bar. That's what equity does. It lowers the ceiling. It never raises the bar. Ask anyone that enforces discipline in schools that promote equity, and let me know how your discipline goes. goes out the window. That's why you're seeing a lot of team takeovers throughout the country, because of the restorative justice that they've learned in the schools. AK, there's no accountability for behavior. That's just what the reality is. I'll say it, that's the truth of it. And then in Jeffco, she gets slammed. And Jeffco, they got their priorities straight. That teacher, you know, I want to make sure my kids feel safe. But yet, do you make sure your kids feel safe when you're spouting anti-American rhetoric in front of them? No, that's supposed to be included. That's supposed to be considered inclusive language, right? The hypocrisy and the double standard that the left constantly throws in our face is out of control, and it needs to be smacked at and laughed at and addressed every single time. It should not be given room to breathe anymore. No more, okay, I'll take it. No. Their way of life, the way they think, has infected our society to the point now where everything is a battle. There is no more common ground to just being an American. And that's all because of what the left has done to our kids, and especially this young girl who's in 7th grade, Drake Middle School in Jeffco, because she's writing a pro-life slam poetry piece. She has to get a news report on libs of TikTok. What planet, what society, what year are we in? Someone please help me understand the ridiculousness, because that's what equity does to the education system. And if you don't believe me, we're going to keep rolling with it. Take a look at this cut. This is a cut about Maine female students that have been asked to testify in a hearing. Listen to this.
How is it at the high school level?
At the high school level, like going into the restroom, there were boys in there. I'd walk out from the stall and there'd be a boy in the stall next to me that I didn't know he was in there. But it also happened like vice versa. There would be a trans student who said that they were a male when they were female who would like try to peek over the urinal stalls at the boys. And we actually had a forum in school my junior or sophomore year because of this.
Any other questions, committee members? Yes, Representative Crusoe.
Madam Chair, thank you for speaking. You did a great job. Thank you. I'm not in the school, so I don't know, but it seems like it's more prevalent. Last year we were hearing that it was just a couple of students, or it wasn't. Some people say it wasn't really happening. You're saying that it's common?
It's very common. People just don't talk about it because they're afraid of getting in trouble.
You said you're an older sister to 3 more female athletes. Is it happening to them in their grade?
Yes. Catherine mentioned a male student masturbating in the female locker room in Hamden, and my sisters have witnessed that. She's a freshman in high school, and she's seen that.
What do they do? The girls?
The girls about it, they don't say anything because they're scared to talk about it. They don't want to cause problems. They're all very good kids. They don't want to make issues in school.
Thank you.
That goes on in every state that has transgender students in bathrooms. It's true. It goes on everywhere. No one wants to talk about it, but it's true. Okay? Those young ladies talked about their stories or their family stories that have witnessed boys and girls bathrooms masturbating while they're at school. And then those kids don't want to say anything because they don't want to cause trouble. And you want to know why they don't want to say anything? Because if they say anything, they will get bullied and picked on and then blamed by administration, and they would not be supported. Because that's what they do in the public school systems. They silence those that speak out against the narrative. Students, staff, all alike. If you go against the narrative, you get shut down, you get slammed. But did you hear that story? Did you hear, we're good kids, they don't want to cause trouble. She's right. And good kids eat a lot of shit in the public school system because they don't want to cause trouble. And mainly they don't want to cause trouble for themselves. Because what happens is teachers really can't keep their mouths shut and information gets back to kids somehow. 9 times out of 10, and it comes from the adults, not even the kids themselves. But once the information matriculates into the kid world, forget about it. The kid's outed that said something, and the kid's identified, and that kid's next 4 or 5 days, week, 2 months could be hell, depending on how bad of the situation it was. So just imagine if you're a kid saying, "Hey, this tranny kid did this," you're gonna get exiled. Not the kid that did it. You're going to get exiled because you're going against the narrative, because this doesn't happen in our school. You must be making this up. And that's what they do to these kids. And that's why so many people keep leaving the public school system, because they don't want their kids to deal with this. Like, if you have daughters, do you want your daughter to deal with this in a public setting? I don't have a daughter. But if I did, you better believe that shit won't be happening. And if that was to happen in my daughter's school, there'll be some hell to pay, because it should not be happening, period. Every female should be safe in their restroom. Every female should be safe in their locker room. And I mean real females, biological females. Nothing swinging between the legs. Nothing artificially implanted up here, okay? None of that nonsense. Nothing what you think up here. No, I don't care what you think up here. That's fantasy land. I deal with reality. Reality is what I see in front of me. What I see in front of me is a chick with a dick. No, thank you. You go to the boys' room. You could go into the boys' room with that. You ain't going into the girls' room. It's amazing that this goes on in public schools, and girls have to actually stand up. And girls get sexually assaulted, too. I don't know if you were following this, but a couple of years ago out of, I believe it was Loudoun County, Virginia, they had sexual assaults going on all throughout their school district, and they kept moving the student that was doing the sexual assaults instead of holding that student accountable. There's that word again, accountable. People don't like that word. But they didn't hold that student accountable. Instead, they just kept moving that student between schools to hide the behavior that student was sexually abusing other females within the district. So his mental health got rewarded, and his sexual gratification got rewarded, instead of actually that person getting held accountable, thrown in jail, and locked away, and getting mental help that person so desperately needs. And if you don't think equity is great enough, and if you don't think we don't have enough equity, well, I think Yale's leading the charge. Go Bulldogs. Cut 4. Yeah, baby. Yale has all-black celebration parties for graduates. And that's not the only school. This goes on all throughout the country. Different schools now have celebrations based on your ethnicity. It's like we're going back to the 1950s, but yet everyone fights against that time. I don't know why people are fighting against that time if that's what people want. If you want segregation based on race, shit, you need to hit the rewind button. That's going backwards, not forwards. I don't know where we're going in society, but it seems like we're just going backwards. We're going back to what matters is race. We need to be segregated based on our color. We can only party and celebrate big moments with people that look like us instead of people that I just like and get along with. Like, it's insane what we're becoming as a society, and it's all being driven specifically one specific side of the aisle. And majority of Americans don't want this, but yet somehow this keeps happening. And also, just imagine the backlash if you had a whites-only celebration, or if you had a whites-only event anywhere for anything. Imagine the backlash that would take place if that was to occur. But yet all these other subgroups can have their own little enclaves, their own little celebrations, their own little, and that's all good, well and good. Yeah, no, it's not. It's discrimination. Because if one race can't do it, that means the other race can't do it. But somehow in equity world, that means every race can do it except the white people. The white people can't do it. Everyone else, yes, you can. White, no. And sometimes Asian, depending on how I feel of the day. Because the Asians still get mixed and matched, depending on what they need, the left. If they need the Asian vote or not, or if they need the Asian representation here or not, right? So the Asians are kind of like on the outside. I like Asian people. They're smart, they're respectful, they're courteous, hardworking, don't complain about anything, especially if they're Chinese, because they know what oppression really looks like back in their home country. Like, shit, I don't want that. What the fuck? What are you talking about? You crazy? But yeah, no. You know, that's why if anyone ever actually talks to someone that's been from an oppressive nation, they look around like, you guys are crazy if you think this is an oppressive country, because they have experience. But here what you have is you have 20, 30, 40-year-olds that have been indoctrinated through the school system. And because we've had such a high standard of living and such a safe life and such an abundance of food, that this is where we are, is that people have been bored and have just thought up ways to just screw our society, basically. And that's where we are. all these things, Green Climate Accord, transgenderism, equity, CRT, all this is byproducts of people being too bored and having too comfortable a life to manifest and think of things to try and promote themselves. That's all it is. And it's tribalism. We're going back to the 1950s, 40s, 30s, whatever time people said segregation was happening is what we're going towards. So I don't really understand why everyone's so mad. If this is what you want, and somehow this is not an oppressive nation, but yet in the 50s when it would happen, it was oppressive. I guess it's because it's personal selection now, because you're personally choosing to segregate yourselves, I guess is okay. I don't know. But if white people choose to purposely segregate themselves, they're a racist, or it's called white flight. So I don't know what any of this shit means in reality, except liberalism is a mental disorder, and those on the left are mentally retarded and crazy. And they're in our face all the time, and we got to deal with it. All I just want to do is use logic, and it'll solve 99% of our problems. And it'll get rid of a lot of these retards on the left. Like, just logic. Absolutely absurd. Thanks, Mod. I like you too. I don't know what's going on in the chat, but I just looked down at my computer and I saw I even like Patrick. So I appreciate that. Thanks. I'm an acquired taste, I would say. Not everyone likes me. Not everyone hates me. You know, just got to find that right balance. That's why I'm good with, like, in short spurts, like 5-10 minutes, I'm great. But if you live with me, ask my wife. Woo, it could be some bad times. But yeah, thanks for that comment, Mod. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm going to call it for today. Joe should be back in chair tomorrow. Honestly, this was an audible at the line of scrimmage, and hopefully we still hit a touchdown pass, 70-yard bomb over the top. I thought the interview with Peter went great. Peter dropped some serious knowledge. And I got some time here to talk to all of you on camera, get my therapy session in, give you my take on everything, let you know that I think we're going back to the 1950s, and somehow that seems to be okay. It's okay because the left is telling us we need to go back to that type of lifestyle. So, okay, giddy up. Let me pray us out. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Dear Lord, thank you for the opportunity today to sit in the chair and to connect with Peter and to talk about some current issues that need to be talked about and get the message out there. Thank you, Lord, for last week's hearing at the 10th Circuit and Chris Mills, my attorney, and America First Legal taking this case on, fighting a good fight against censoring people in the workplace. Thank you, Lord, for that representation. Thank you, Lord, for the rain we received in Colorado and the cool temperatures. It's been refreshing. It's been needed for the water, for the plant life, just for everybody. It's been real dry out here. Thank you, Lord, for the moisture. Dear Lord, continue to watch over Joe on his endeavors, both legally, professionally, and with his family. Man's a beast. Thank you for keeping him around with us, and thank you for introducing me to Joe. Very good partnership developing. I thank you that for, Lord. And Lord, keep watch over Gammy. Allow her to heal quickly, please. And Lord, finally, please let the goodness in our politicians and touch our politicians' hearts and guide them to start doing and encouraging them to start doing the right things for us, the American people. Hey, Grandma, Grandpa, Dad, love you guys. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for our sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. All right, everyone. We will see you tomorrow. Class dismissed.
Rise up untamed in the heart of the fire where the wild ones roam. Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown, untamed nation. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown, tame nation. It's our